Welcome back to this class. Today we are going to talk about varieties of theatre, be it a proscenium theatre, a thirst theatre, an arena theatre and all other types. A theatre is not simply a space for looking or listening to a performance. A successful theatre for live performance supports the emotional exchange between the performer and the audience and between the members of the audience. All that said, we have outlined the typical theatre form for different performance types. There are 4 types of theatre spaces. Number 1, proscenium stage. Number 2, third stage. Number 3, arena stage. And number 4, created and found spaces or the flexible theatre. There is no ideal size of a theatre. The scale of the theatre depends on the size of staging required by the type of performances and the number of audience to be accommodated, with each variable influencing the others as they change. No one size fits all formula works with that kind of a nuance. Now, let me tell you about proscenium stage. In this stage, the audience views the actions from one direction. In a proscenium theatre, the stage is located at one end of the auditorium and is physically separated from the audience space by a proscenium wall. This is sometimes called a two-box arrangement. The auditorium and the stage occupy 2 separate boxes or rooms. The stage box or the stage house provides fly space and wings and permits a wide variety of scenic and lighting effects. The auditorium box is the audience chamber which takes many forms: fan-shaped courtyard, lyrics, etc. The other terms: picture frame, fourth wall. Also known as the picture frame stage because the spectator observes the action through the proscenium arch. The proscenium arch is a direct descendant of proscenium or skene of the ancient Greek theatre. Proscenium theatre was introduced in Italy during the Renaissance. Proscenium arch or proscenium frame. The opening between the auditorium and the stage is called the proscenium frame. Proscenium opening, proscenium arch, or simply the proscenium. In its earliest forms, the heart of the proscenium theatre was the 4 stage in front of the proscenium. It wasn't until the middle part of the 19th century that performers were confined with the scenery behind the proscenium arch. Contemporary proscenium theatres try to provide a flexible transition zone between the stage and the audience, adaptable to suit the need of each performance. The arch separates the stage from the auditorium. The arch can vary in both height and width. The average theatre has an arch that is 18 to 22 feet in height and 36 to 40 feet wide. The main stage. The playing area behind or upstage of the arch is referred to as the stage. A stage floor needs to be firm, non-skid, paintable and resistant to splintering and gouging and somewhat soundproof. While some productions utilize the space in front of the arch, known as the apron, the primary playing space is typically behind the arch. The apron stage. Also known as the forestage, the apron is an extension of the stage from the arch to the audience. It can vary in depth from a narrow 3 feet to as much as 15 feet. The apron also extends up to 15 feet beyond either side of the arch. the wings. The space on either side of the stage are the wings. Wings are used for storage of scenic elements, props, and other equipment until they are needed on stage. Orchestra pit. Many proscenium theatres have an orchestra pit which is almost always between the apron and the audience. It holds the pit band or orchestra during performances that need live music. Pit are generally the full width of the proscenium and can be 12 feet wide. The pit needs to be deep enough so that the orchestra will not obstruct the audience view. Most theatres have found a way to cover the pit when it is not in use. Some use removable floorboard so that the apron space can be used for non-musical productions. Some theatres use hydraulic lifts to raise and lower the pit. Traps. Many theatres have traps cut into the stage floor. Traps are removable sections which provide access to the space beneath the stage. The holes can be filled with stairs or elevator, a slide, or be kept left open. While traps are typically a feature of proscenium stage, they can be found in Thirst arena stage as well. Revolve. Also called a turntable or revolving stage, the revolve provides a visually interesting and efficient manner of shifting scenery. Many theatres have revolves built into the stage floor. Fly loft. The area directly over the stage is called the fly loft. Referred to as the flies, it is usually quite tall, at a minimum 2.5 times the height of the arch. The height allows scenery to be raised out of sight of the audience. Fly systems. Rope sets. Counterweights. Rope sets. Rope sets operates like a rope and pulley except that it has 3 or more lines. The ropes support a batten. Batten. A thick wooden dowel or metal pipes from which are suspended scenery and lighting instruments. From the batten they run to the gird, where they pass over loft blocks which lead them toward the side of the stage house. At the edge of the grid, the lines pass over the head block and then down to the fly gallery where they are tied off at the pin rail. Head block. A multi-sheave block with 2 or more pulley wheels used to change the directions of all the ropes or cables that support the batten. Fly gallery. The elevated walkway where the pin rail is located, usually 15 to 20 feet above the stage floor. Loft blocks. A groove pulley mounted on top of the grid used to change the directions in which the rope or cables travels. Pin rail. A horizontal pipe or rail studded with belaying pins. The ropes of the rope set system are wrapped around the belaying pins to hold the batten at specific height. Stage house. The physical structure enclosing the area about the stage and wings. Counterweight. The counterweight system works on the same principle as the rope set system and is much safer. The support ropes and battens have been replaced with steel cables. Instead of the cables being tied off at the pin rail, they are secured to the top of the counterweight arbor or carriage. When the batten is lowered to the stage level, the arbor raises to the level of the loading platform just above the grid, thus allowing the counterweight to be loaded safely. Counterweight arbor. A metal cradle that holds the counterbalancing weights used in counterweight flying system. Loading platform. A walkway suspended just below the grid where counterweights are loaded onto the arbor. Motorized flying systems. Motorized rigging systems are generally used to fly heavy loads such as orchestra shells, light bridges, and so forth. There are three basic types of motorized flying systems: drum winches, line shaft systems, and counterweight assisted systems. Drum winches. Drum winches are used to deadlift a load, that is, lifting a load without counterbalancing. They are usually located to one side of the stage. The cables are fed through a series of blocks up to the grid and down to the batons. Counterweight assisted. These motorized rigging systems replace the operating line of a hand-operated counterweight system with a cable that is driven by a drum winch. Line shaft. Line shaft rigging is another type of deadlift system. Mounted on the grid, these systems use a motor to drive a rotating shaft equipped with multiple drums. Depending on the length of the baton, the shaft will normally have between 4 and 8 drums. Steel cable runs from each drum to support the baton. When the shaft is rotated, all the drums move simultaneously to raise or lower the baton. Stage drapes. The proscenium stage uses more drapery than the thirst and arena. Although they have specific functions, all stage drapes are designed to hide or mask backstage area from the spectator. Stage drapes are usually made of black light absorbing material such as heavyweight velour. Grand drapes. The purpose of grand drape, also known as the main curtain or grand rag, is to cover the opening of the proscenium. In theatres with a fly loft, this drape can usually be flown vertically or travelled horizontally. Grand valance. Normally located just downstage of the grand drape, the grand valance is made of the same material as the main curtain. It is much shorter, however, usually only 8 to 12 feet high. It is used to mask the equipment and scenery that are flown immediately upstage of the proscenium. False proscenium. The false proscenium is located immediately upstage of the grand drape and valance. It is normally mounted on a rigid framework. The flat structure of both the hard teaser and tormentors are covered with thin plywood, which is then covered with a velour type fabric. The primary purpose of the false pro is to mask. Tormentors. The vertical flats that form the side elements of the false proscenium. Hard teaser. The horizontal element of the false proscenium manually hung from a counterweight baton so that its height can be adjusted. Show portal. A false proscenium that usually supports the style and color palette of a particular production. Legs and borders. Legs are narrow vertical stage drapes that are used to mask the sides of the stage upstage of the art. They are made of the same material as the other stage drapes. Borders, also called teasers, are short, wide, horizontal draperies used to mask flies. Sky drop. Also known as the sky tab, the sky drop is used to stimulate the sky. It is a large flat curtain usually made of muslin or canvas. It is usually hung on a baton as far as upstage as possible. After the 1960s, it became the light designer's job to make the off-white muslin look like the sky rather than painted blue. Cyclorama. Also known as the cyclorama is an expansion of the concept of the sky drop. Sky drop cannot surround the set with the illusion of vast expanse of open space. The fly cyc is made from one unbroken expanse of cloth. Sometimes scrims are used in conjunction with cycs and sky drops. A scrim is a drop made from translucent or transparent material. When light is shone from the back onto the scrim becomes transparent. When light is shone on front of the scrim, it appears to be opaque. Advantages and disadvantages. Advantages: provides for spectacle, focuses audience attention mostly acutely, heightens aesthetic distance. The disadvantages: intimacy more difficult to achieve. Thirst stage. Audience use the actions from all the three directions. The thirst stage or thirst theatre is a theatrical stage without a proscenium, in which a raised platform, usually a square, round or trapezoidal, juts into the auditorium. The stage seems to thrust out into the audience, allowing the audience to surround the stage on all the three sides. The other terms are 3 quarter stage, 3 sided arena stage, platform stage or the open stage. Most widely used in history. This third stage is not a new development. From the Greeks through the Renaissance, audience gathered on 3 sides of the playing stage to watch theatrical productions. The audience is usually rising up from the stage and sitting in a highly raked or angled area in a manner resembling the seating at the football stadium. Yes, a football stadium. The stage is usually backed by occasional scenery pieces or permanent architectural structure. The third stage ordinarily has no hanging scenery, and what scenery it does not have must be limited to audience sight lines. The stage is large enough to accommodate the full staging of a performance, and performers can enter a third stage from all sides. Actor entrances are usually provided to the front of the third through vomitories or gaps in the seating. The stage of the third theatre projects and is surrounded by the audience, so tall, flat, drop and vertical mask cannot be used. The lighting grid in a third theatre is usually suspended over the entire stage. Depending on the design, the lighting grid and instrument can be hidden from or in full view of the audience. Access to simpler grid is usually from a rolling ladder or a scaffold placed on the stage. More complex grid frequently have access from above to a series of catwalks and walkways. Some third theatre stages retain a vestigial proscenium arch on the upstage wall as well as a small backstage area. Although battens are frequently dead hung and unable to be raised or lowered, some theatres have installed ratchet, winches, rope sets or counterweight set to move the battens. Advantages and disadvantages. A compromise between the proscenium and the arena stage. Some intimacy, some spectacle. Arena stage. Audience views the action from all 4 directions. The form of an arena stage with the audience surrounding 4 sides of the performance platform with implies a more frontal arrangement. These forms can accommodate a high seat count within an acceptable distance to the stage. Other terms: theatre in the round, circle theatre, central staging. Most widely used in history, oldest arrangement in history. The modern arena stage came into use in the late 1930s out of a desire to produce plays on low budget during the years of economic depression. Since scenery were eliminated, it appeared in its earliest uses to be even more lifelike than the proscenium stage, like a play in someone's living room. The arena or theatre in the round is a type of an open performance space which allows the audience to completely surround the action on all sides. It is a circular or oval shaped public space similar to a classical amphitheatre. It is surrounded on all sides by raised, usually tiered, seats or benches for spectators. The key feature of an arena is that the event space is the lowest point, allowing for maximum visibility. The advantage to this type of theatre is that audience members can have an intimate view of the performance, and it enables producers to offer more experimental programming. This arena type of staging may have a more intimate appeal than that of the proscenium, but certain actions may be lost to some portions of the audience because of its limitations in perspective. However, this type of staging has some strong advantages, like its personal interaction with the audience. A theatre in which the audience completely surrounds the stage or playing area. Actor entrances to the playing area are provided through vomitories or gap in the seating arrangement. The arena stage is even more intimate actor-audience theatre than the thirst. When the audience surrounding on all sides of the stage, they are much closer to the action. Any design element must be carefully and accurately constructed because the audience is close enough to notice. The scenery used on an arena stage is extremely minimal so as not to block the sight lines of the audience. As in third stage, the space between the arena stage has a lighting gird that frequently covers not only the stage but also the auditorium. Advantages and disadvantages. Advantages: offers greater intimacy, heightens audience sense of community, demands economic in design and production. Disadvantages: plays requiring elaborate scenery suffer. Created and found spaces or flexible theatre. Found theatre spaces are housed in structures that were originally designed for some other purpose. Almost any and every conceivable space can be and has been converted in theatre space. For example, non-theatre buildings, supermarket, office buildings, libraries, restaurants, etc. Each audience member view the action from a unique perspective. An attempt to break down audience-actor distance grew out of avant-garde experimentation, affect the audience experience as strongly as dialogue or staging might. The black box theatre. Black box theatres allow for flexible staging. Black box theatre is a generic term for a theatre in which the playing space and audience setting can be configured as desired for each production. Often, the theatre can be configured into the arena, thirst, and end stage form described above. Black box theatre usually without a character or embellishment, a void space. Usually, audience sitting is on the main floor with no audience gallery, though a technical gallery may be provided. Environmental theatre. A found space in which the architecture of the space is intrinsic to the performance, or a theatre space that is transformed into a complete environment for the performance. The audience space and performance space are sometimes intermingled, and the actions may be single focus or multiple focus. In environmental theatre, the physical space is an essential part of the performance. Dear students, I hope you have enjoyed the theatre journey so far.